Great. Howdy, 9 a.m. on May 5th. Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo 2020. Thank you for joining today, and for those who will not be able to join because thankfully you'll have plenty of work and your clients are calling you off the hook. It is 10 a.m. in East Coast time. You'll be watching this, and we're going to go over today some aspects of your summer or fall, building your courses for the first time, or for people who already have courses built, ways that I think you can improve through using group team case studies, but also here to answer questions. So luckily we have the more important and relevant people here, such as Megan. If not for Megan, you don't have agreements and get paid. If not for David Dye, well, the program doesn't happen at all because he's the dean of the graduate programs and sitting behind, I'm the Oz behind the curtain, but that's formally true. He's the one that makes this all roll forward. Xiao, she is our head of instructional design. She is based at the law school, albeit nobody is based at the law school until the COVID-19 is cleared. But she works with the Department of Innovation. I'll let her say more on that, which is a large and ever expanding department under the office of the provost of the university. Long before COVID-19, the university was moving in a direction to be able to offer online effectively, scalably across the largest public university in the United States. And well, I guess that process is being sped up. Okay, so we have those important people with us today. So just quickly, why don't y'all introduce yourself? Let's start with David, since you're the dean, and a quick introduction so people know who you are by face. And again, remember, they'll be watching the video later, some of them.
Thank you, William. My name is David Dye. As William said, I am the Assistant Dean of Graduate Programs. Came to A&M in mid-July and starting to help some of the faculty who have built these wonderful programs by kind of just building an overall framework for these programs to exist within. And have really enjoyed working with the risk and wealth programs and now the international tax program. So if you have any questions at any time, please always feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
And next on my screen, I see you, Xiao. So why don't you mention what the innovation is actually called, the center office.
Yes, so my name is Xiao. I'm currently the instructional designer. I come from the Office of Academic Innovation, but I'm physically located at law school at Fort Worth. And I'm currently helping with different graduate courses, online design, instructional design, and helping with different faculty. So do not hesitate. If you have any questions that you need my help, I'm here.
And Megan.
Howdy, my name is Megan. I am over Dean of Faculties, which is just where you always you hear from me. I'm probably the first one who reaches you other than David or William. And I send you all your offer letter and you get all your paperwork to me. I'm currently working on becoming an HR liaison, so then we can cut off the middleman. So I will be the flat. That's who you contact if you have any questions. I just started this job in October, so it's also a learning process for me. So I will answer all your questions.
You're a real Aggie.
Oh yes, I am a real Aggie. I graduated from Texas A&M in 2018. And so anyway, but if you have any questions, I would say call me because I love to talk on the phone, but that's not really working out right now. So, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me, okay?
Hi, it's Denise Hensky. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a client call run over.
Oh, no, perfect. Exactly. Actually, I was hoping you would be joining us. So I just did a quick introduction of our people here from different administrative roles. And we're going to ask them questions in a moment, but then I wanted the people like yourself to introduce. So since you're here, Denise, why don't you quickly introduce yourself to some of the Texas A&M folk here? You've turned on your mute. You have your mute on.
And that would help and make it much better. Denise, and I work at Deloitte right now. I'm a leader of our global information reporting team. I'm also our global FATCA and CRS leader. I've been doing information reporting since I graduated from law school, which is now going on 34 years. So I feel like I've been here from the very beginning. Not only in FATCA and CRS, I also have, am responsible within the firm for pretty much everything else that's information reporting related. We've got a very, very big team at Deloitte, the largest of the big four. And that means I've got 120 people in the US that work under me on this team, and then another 85 in India. So just all information reporting, so.
And we have, I see Deborah, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Deborah Toludo. I work for Veritas Technologies. I'm a senior tax manager there. I have a doctorate in international tax from University of Florida. I'm a Gator, not an Aggie. I moved from Brazil to do my LLM here at UF, and I just stayed in Florida. Oh, I see another Gator here. But I've been helping William in some of his publications for the past 10 years. And we've been teaching online, first at Thomas Jefferson, now at Texas A&M for during, on and off during this 10 years since I moved to the US.
Next, I have Hayden on my screen. Hayden over in London.
Hi there, afternoon all. It's afternoon here in the UK. It's morning for you guys on the other side of the Atlantic. I'm a FATCA and CRS expert. I'm currently working on DAC 6 in the capacity as General Counsel Tax Advisor for White and Case in the area of DAC 6.
And I met Hayden whenever FATCA came out, so 12 or 13, when I was, if anybody's heard my story, I had brain damage from an accident long ago. I can't do numbers very well. I had really screwed up, or I was doing manually the adding up of what are called GINs, but this long list, it's now hundreds of thousands long, units long of data. And I just couldn't figure out how to make the formulas and all that. And then I met Hayden. He was like, it's like magic, gold tea, nothing, dude. It's just, and he produced the most cool analytics. And we produced a series of like 20 articles that became industry standard for people being able to analyze what was going on the first 2 years of a very confusing world. And he allowed me to, pick his brain every day. And thank you for that. He was at what, HSBC? No, you were at UBS at the time. HSBC?
Yeah, I've been everywhere, but yes, I was at UBS.
Yeah, you're at UBS at the time.
Yeah.
So he brings different experiences from different banks with him. Next, I have David Deputy, who has been on our law campus before, but yeah, wrong SEC team. Introduce yourself, David.
I am a Gator, as you saw. I work at a company called Vertex. We're a tax software company. I lead an innovation unit, so we've got about 20 people who always jump on the newest innovations. So we were involved in the country-by-country reporting, building systems for both the government side and the corporate side. My background is I started in finance, traveled through a healthy dose of analytics, working for software companies, then found my way into financial reporting and finally tax over the last 15 years. I've also got a degree from Cornell and working on one from Harvard.
And finally, we have a Texas A&M professor of engineering who's joined our law school working with me, but also doing her own thing. But she's also at the Maritime School, and she's also head of our Cyber Institute and other things. So why don't you tell all the amazing things you're doing with your mind, Paula?
Well, thank you. You did have to go after the guy getting 2 degrees from Ivy League schools. But I am an Aggie, PhD, 1989, computer science. The first computer science when it was its own department for historical reasons. It had been part of another engineering. I am an attorney. I went to law school as my kids say, a midlife crisis. I've been licensed about 11 years. Don't practice that much, and I'm not a tax expert, but I do cybersecurity, and I do data analytics. And as William said, I work half-time in the College Station campus, teaching cybersecurity law and policy and cybersecurity risk, and then I'm developing the maritime cybersecurity program down in Galveston. And I realized today I have on a Purdue shirt, so that's my undergraduate. So sorry, I don't have Aggie law. I didn't think about it.
Okay, I'm the only, mine says Aggie Land is my happy place. So I'm the only, I guess I'm the only one repping us right now.
I have a ton of Aggie law school shirts in engineering, but for some reason today I put on a Purdue shirt, so apologies.
My husband, anytime I come home with another A&M shirt, he's like, can you, because why? You already have 3 drawers filled. Oh, and then David and Deborah, my dad is a Tennessee Volunteer fan. So when I saw your shirts, I was like, my dad's gonna be upset I'm talking to y'all right now. Sorry, but anyway.
Since I'll start off with my branding. Everyone knows I'm big on everybody who's seen me at a conference has seen me in maroon, has seen my pro Aggie branding, and Aggie is Mecca. So one of the ways we do that, besides the eCampus, which will presumably be in maroon when the new one's built, is the scene behind me is the Texas A&M Law School. There are dozens of virtual backgrounds which I will post in each of your courses. I posted it last night for my transfer pricing folder. I'm going to copy that folder to the FATCA folder. I'll copy it to the International Tax Risk Management folder. You're not required to use it. But if you want to, or you want to use your own or what have you, and you think they're fun, that's fine. Sometimes, by example, I use Fish or Grateful Dead behind me. Having said that, does everyone know how to do a virtual background?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Fine, so I'm gonna post some virtual backgrounds from Texas A&M because I'm big on the branding elements of the program, which is different than in my past. But again, feel free to use which one. Okay, so the main parts of today, I wanted to show you some aspects that are relevant for new onboarders. And so let me run through those quickly. I think Deborah and I will already know this because she's been onboarded and in previous class. But and the second is the team approach, or case study team approach, and how we're doing that effectively, or we'll do it more effectively in the future as well. So with that, I'm going to have to share my screen because I need to show you some websites, mainly library type websites. So if you'll give me a moment, I'm going to switch over to my screen. Second. Okay. Share. Okay. I'm right now you should be seeing, and you are, Camtasia screen. For people who are new for our onboarding process and those who are watching this video later who will be onboarded, we use MP4, which is the standard file format to upload pre-recorded lectures. Good pedagogy, long before COVID-19, stated that flip the classroom, which simply means to record the spoken part of your lecture, the informational part of the lecture where you're pushing information forward, to record that before actual live sessions. And that live sessions should only be used for analytical discussion with your students. That's a good pedagogy. That's called flip the classroom. And that's been a term for about 10 years now. So we use, to create MP4s, we use, generally speaking, one of 2 platforms, or 1 or 2 software programs, but you don't have to. You can use whatever you want. Camtasia is the one that the Office of Innovation supports. Correct me if I'm wrong, Xiao, though, because just because that was yesterday's discussion doesn't mean it's tomorrow's. So y'all are Camtasia still? Yeah. Okay. I bought Camtasia through software.tamu.edu for $18. I'm not 100% sure that y'all see Camtasia when you type in software.tamu.edu and you enter through your credentials, that you see Camtasia on your side. You might. If you do, it's $18 and we'll reimburse you. However, if you email, I guess you shall, you'll send them a link to download Camtasia, although you see it on the screen in front of you, and our IT department, I believe, will send you the key. So when I bought it, still, all I got was a link by email and a key by email. We all know how software keys work nowadays. So I received my key, I typed it in, and my Camtasia stopped having this is a draft copy, this is a test copy, whatever on it, and I could record longer than 20 minutes. At least I strongly prefer that you have a real copy of Camtasia so that it doesn't have Camtasia branding, and instead we can add Aggie branding to it later. Camtasia is not intuitive. It doesn't take long to learn, 1-2 hours. If you want to do bells and whistles, maybe 3 hours. However, we're busy, we're tax people, risk people. We don't really have time to learn media. That's fine. The second software program we use, which is the absolute easiest way to record, is what we're doing right now. You turn on your Zoom account. Everyone will have a Zoom account in the onboarding process. Every Texas A&M ID has a Zoom account, students, staff, and so on. The Office of Innovation licensed over 70,000 of them. It was clever thinking long before COVID. So you'll have your Zoom account, you turn it on, you can share your screen or what have you, and just press record. What the university wants you to do, I haven't personally been doing it, but it is relevant because of the Disabilities Act, which is federal law, and we are subject to it, and we want to do the right thing, is there's a button that you will not see on your traditional Zoom you use at work or what have you. You're only going to see it on university Zooms, really, and you're going to see it most particularly on our Texas A&M Zoom, because we pay for the high Zoom account. And that button says transcript. So if I wanted to have an auto-generated transcript, which has pretty good, it's like the TV transcripts, they're pretty decent. It's a good 98% strike rate. If you don't use too many Texans, you click on the transcript. The advantage of recording with a transcript is that you will have your scripts already built for you. So afterwards, you can download your transcript, you can fix it, and you can redo your video next time based on an actual script, or use your script for speeches or what have you. So I encourage you to use transcripts from that point of view. You can actually get to the same place by just uploading a video to YouTube and having YouTube produce your transcripts for free. YouTube will do the same thing because YouTube is also subject to the Disabilities Act, or what's known colloquially as the ADA. So if you want to do something fancier and add bells and whistles and have cool dancing bears, and we have videos with dancing bears, I'm going to upload some of them to a G drive for y'all to look afterwards. And I call it the George Mintz videos, but we have some really cool videos, but then you need to record in Camtasia, because Camtasia allows the IT department, or sorry, the innovation department, to better work with your files. And they're not M4s yet, MP4s. They're raw data files. Anyway, you'll have a conversation. Go ahead.
Sorry, so I just, for whoever never used Camtasia before, don't make the same mistake I did. It is a great software, but it takes a while to upload your files. So be prepared to have your, it's about sometimes 2 hours depending on the size of your class. So practice, like try it in advance, because I ended up having issues getting my files on time. I had no idea how long it was going to take. It's fairly easy to learn, but the upload time, it's much longer than what you're used to. So be aware of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. The upload is really a conversion. It's converting it from the raw data of the tech, whatever Camtasia's parent company is, TechSmith files to the MP4s. So it does take a while. It does take about 2 hours. It's absolutely correct. So don't do it right before class. You won't have your videos ready. We're encouraging people to post videos a good 2 weeks ahead of time. Albeit if you're week number 1 coming up, it is 2 weeks ahead of time as of Monday. So post a week ahead of time. Students do like to, and we'll go in and watch your videos certainly before the class. To get a Zoom account, or to get a Zoom account in particular, that's where Megan came in. So for the people on the call, you've been contacted by Megan, right? David, Denise, okay.
I haven't, I'm getting, so something's going on with I'm just letting you know, Hayden, because I know I haven't emailed you yet, because you don't start your class until a little bit later. I know you don't start on May 18th, because I was looking at the weeks. Because we're having a little bit problem with what's going on. We have to get approval from the dean, like for new hire on adjuncts. Not that you won't get it, it's just that I have to have you apply through something in particular, and I can't have you apply through that until it is open, if that makes sense. But you will be getting one shortly. Regarding Zoom, what happens is you come to me if you have technical difficulties. Usually you're supposed to go, and it's usually just supposed to happen. Like you automatically have an account when you get your TAMU email. Sometimes it doesn't work. I can do it, but if it's something that's like pressing to you, you can usually call IT down College Station, ask them to put in a ticket for identity management, and then they can do it. Because that's what I did, was I just called because they were taking a long time. So regarding Zoom, if you do have a problem, you're more than welcome to come to me, or you can go to them yourselves. It's not that you need like a higher access, like you don't have to be an employee to try and call them and get your own Zoom account, if that makes sense.
You just need your UIN, University Identification Number, or Universal Identification Number, UIN. It replaces your Social Security number for the state of Texas. And that UIN is when you call the IT department on main campus. They're 365, 24/7. I do call them at 3 in the morning. I work all night, and they're great. I mean, with all this COVID and everybody having to go work off campus, being 70,000 students that they did not intend to, I don't know how they managed to do it, but they've managed to scale at that level. It's really an amazing job. So I encourage everybody to continue the onboarding process, even if it's aggravating. You do need to understand, as I've mentioned to some of you personally, we are a military university. It's our history, as you'll read. It continues to be so, and we're a $1 billion funded R&D research university. A lot of it is, military application, if you will. And so they need to go through a lot of background security checking type stuff that you wouldn't need to do at my former universities or other universities you're associated with. So it's just a bit slower, but once you're in, I'll share my screen again. Look at what you get. Didn't have all of this access before. So with your UINs, you're going to have access to, I'm going to move my screen around a bit. First of all, the law library. Our law library, electronic resources. Our law librarian, Joan, already has your name. I've already provided her name. You need a UIN to access stuff, but she knows who you are. And she's going to send you to set up your Lexis account. If you want a Westlaw account, I don't use Westlaw because I'm a Lexis writer. But if you want a Westlaw account, she'll set one up for you. As I say, I probably have one, but I've never go in there. Not to disparage Westlaw, they're great. Just I don't write for them. B&A, Bloomberg Law, that it's now called. I know tax people, we love our B&A. You'll have a B&A account. But through the library itself, which you should see on your screen right now, by example, because we do international tax, you have an IBFD. We have full IBFD access, the books, the databases, the current materials, the newsletters, and so forth. That's great. So we're full university members for that purpose. I'll show you in a moment financial databases that are very important for those who do by example transfer pricing. But we have CCH. So, but CCH is now called Wolters Kluwer, but the Cheetah. Okay, so CCH that well, I know it's called Cheetah, but no, it's not under C. Maybe it's under W, Wolters Kluwer. Maybe it's under, no, maybe it's under K for Kluwer. It's under Kluwer, okay. We have full access to what you grew up calling CCH. Is no longer called that. It was bought by Wolters Kluwer over a decade ago. They've done another rebranding exercise for anybody who follows that world, and it's now called Cheetah, like the cat, Cheetah. And so if I were to go into my Wolters Kluwer database, I have my UIN. It will eventually open, and I'm going to see a Cheetah interface overlay. And so if you're not used to using CCH or Kluwer or IntelliConnect, you may have called it in the past. They've had different names. So you're gonna be like, oh, what's this? I don't understand what's going on. No, I don't have my VPN on. Or I do have my VPN on, it's gonna conflict. So you're not gonna be able to see Cheetah. But anyway, you'll see the Cheetah and it'd be like, I don't understand what's going on. It's still what you're used to. It's just the new branding by Wolters Kluwer. If you do anything with tax treaties or what have you, they have Fogel, if you use the Klaus Fogel book, and other cool things. So I encourage you to explore some of the databases. You can always, of course, just search in the search bar for what you're looking for. And if it's law oriented, we'll have it here in the RIA checkpoint. We'll have it here at the law school. But let me show you the other library, which I actually use more often than the law library. So the law library address, I'm going to have a list in each of your classes of relevant links. One of the links is going to be law library. The other link is going to be the Texas A&M University library. This is the screen. To be honest, I don't have links. I don't even have them saved favorite. What I do, I Google them every time. I type in TAMU for Texas A&M University, TAMU. I type in TAMU and I type in library, or I type in TAMU Law Library. And that's how I find them every time. My databases looks like, oh, I don't have that many databases. No, buried underneath all these letters, there's over 1,000 information repositories. Cool ones that you'll be familiar with: Bureau van Dijk, now called Moody's, Standard & Poor's, whatever checkpoints, OneSource, Thomson OneSource, although they've rebranded, they told me that, so they have a new name. Okay, so you have plenty of access to other database, financial CCH and so forth, under this library. Why do I bring up libraries? I want to encourage students to do their own research. They're busy, like you're busy, everyone has their clients in their job, but I want to encourage them or empower them to be able to use databases, especially the foreign students that may not have experience with databases. You've been to a US law school, you get it. You suffered a year of legal research and writing. they haven't suffered the same year. Maybe they've been working at Deloitte's for 5 years, but they've never had the opportunity to play around because they always have to enter a billing code, right? So this is their opportunity to explore lots of databases, but they don't know where to start. So if you're willing to explore, or you know where to start, and give them some easy to do kind of research assignments tied into your case study, it's going to help them in their learning process a lot more. So I'll get to case studies in just a moment. So I just wanted to point out the Texas A&M library and the Texas A&M Law library, and you're going to get some pretty powerful features for yourself that you'll find useful maybe for your own research. So with that, let's go to case studies. A typical class, this is, well, I'll back up. This is the transfer pricing course that we're just finished in spring. We actually finished 2 weeks ago, but the students on their own are continuing the class for an extra 2 weeks. So the students organized last week's. Deborah organized our capstone week with the tax technology. Last week, Pramod, who's head of international tax for Michelin Group, organized a COVID impact on transfer pricing discussion, and this coming Sunday he's doing it again. So I bring that up because the students are really involved in the courses. They really like what they're doing, so much so that unlike JD students that can't wait for it to end, our students keep the courses going on their own. So I'm an invited guest, if you will, to there. The classrooms won't go away, so I said they can continue to use them as they want. But now you're looking at a very typical week, as you've seen in your own courses, which we'll go to in a moment. Each week has a folder called case study, one called materials, one called videos. You can create additional folders. It's your week, your course. In the case study course, there's case study materials folder, and our case study for week 1 of transfer pricing week 1 was a simple 1-page or 2-page description, basically 1-page description, 500 words of a fact scenario. Very similar to a law school hypothet, if you will. You could have a 5-page. It doesn't matter the length. We're trying to keep it 1 to 3 pages. But if you have more data to include or what data sets, it's all great. It's all great. But this is for week 1. Certainly, we're keeping it short. So with the case studies, there's always the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is describing the case study. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 PowerPoints. The PowerPoints, like you see on the screen before you right now, form the backbone of the recorded lectures. So in this case, Bruno Da Silva for week 1 of transfer pricing, we jointly shared week 1, had his PowerPoints. He built the case study from a work at Loyens and Louf. It was a real client case study. And he recorded using this PowerPoint using Camtasia because he got used to Camtasia. And it took him about, as I say, less than 2 hours to learn Camtasia frontwards and backwards. Not that he does a lot of bells and whistles, but at least he knows it, and before he didn't know anything about it. Okay, and in this case, we had an actual, that case that you see up on the screen, Supreme Court of Canada, it was based on a Supreme Court of Canada case, but Bruno didn't add that. The students found that in their research and said, oh, this is similar to GSK case, and uploaded it themselves. And the students on their own had a lot of questions. And so we just uploaded it as a G drive document, a G Word, or I don't know what Google calls its documents, but whatever. So, and then those were discussed on the Wednesday lecture. So let's move into lectures. And I think y'all are gonna have some questions on this, but certainly I'll have questions of y'all. Let me stop sharing the screen. Lectures. The case study, I think, is kind of obvious. It's just case study. You do it in your workplace. You've done it when you were in law school, or you did it in business school. you record lectures. There's nothing fancy about that. It's just you got to do it. The live sessions, we're doing 2 live sessions a week. The best time is usually 8 a.m. unfortunately, when I'm not awake, but sometimes I still seem to be here. Why 8 a.m.? Because we have students in China. And so for them, it's 10 p.m. in standard time or 9 p.m. in daylight time. I don't like 8 a.m. at all, but regardless, it just seems to be the best for them. It also happens to be the best for people who actually have client calls that start at 9 a.m. So I don't care. And I'm not sure we'll have our Shanghai student joining us for summer. We're probably going to have an Indonesian student. She's head of transfer pricing for what you call Philip Morris, whatever their name is, but based out of Indonesia. And so I've given suggested tentative times in your syllabus. I'm not the professor though, you're the professor. You get to set your times, but you want to set your times when the students are actually able to come. So it's going to have to be in the morning, that's for sure. But whether it's 7, 8, 9, you have students in California, so be kind to them. But 7, 8, 9, you just need to set it in literally in the syllabus, yes, but you need to put it as an announcement in the G Drive under the admin tab, and communicate it to your students by email. So what time actually? So we just poll the people here. Now, Hayden, you're in UK, so it doesn't matter. 9, 8 a.m. for you, it's the afternoon. So you're going to be quite okay. But David, you're in Florida, and Denise, you're in New York. So East Coast time. Is a 9 a.m. work better for y'all? Meaning 8 a.m. our time, or does 8 a.m. work better for y'all, which would mean 7 a.m. our time, but 5.
Very early for California.
Right.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with either.
Yeah, we definitely have students in California. So like San Francisco technology people in tax. So even if I don't think 5 a.m. they're not gonna, you may see them in face, but they're not there in mind. So yeah, I would suggest the earliest is 6, because that would be, yeah. So 9 a.m. your time would be 6 a.m. your time, 8 a.m. my time in Texas. That's probably going to be the time. We have a conflict though. Hopefully next summer we'll have term A and term B, but that's not the way it is this summer or in the previous summers. It's the same term for both classes. So fall and spring, we had classes back to back. So we could, by example, have our lectures the entire semester, Wednesdays and Sundays. I was thinking we would do, by example, 4 days of lectures. I've already polled the students, and they said that they'll find their way to Texas, drag me out, tar me, feather me, and all that kind of stuff. They don't want 4 days of their mornings taken up. They just can't handle it. What they can handle is they like Sundays. Sundays are okay, but they like Sundays. So, because they don't have to work. So what I'm thinking is going to work best for Sundays is Texas 8 a.m. to 9:30, hard stop, 9:30 to 11. So one of the classes, or it can invert, I don't care, but one class will be what I call the early class, the 8 a.m. class, and one would be the 9:30 class. Hard stop, because sometimes our classes, which are really supposed to go on for about 90 minutes, will go on for 3 hours, because you personally are so involved in the class and the students are so involved that we usually say, like, when you want to clock off, just clock off if you have something to do. But the discussion is so intense, so involved, because everybody's been in the industry for 10, 20 years. They're bringing their corporate experience to the table, that you want to continue it. And that's fine, but it's not going to be fine anymore on Sundays. Sundays is going to have a hard stop at 9:30. So 90 minutes is the general rule, and we're going to have to stick with it on Sundays. Anyway, just be aware of it. I'm going to flip a coin for who gets to start at 8 and who gets to start at 9:30. But amongst the two courses, y'all will have each other's names and lists. You can communicate with each other and trade times, if you will. You can also trade days. So I forget which course I said is Wednesday and which one is Tuesday, but I don't mind if you switch back and forth between the, I don't care. The students don't care, it's just as long as we tell them which is which. Okay. The Zoom room that we use is just like this one. Each course has its own Zoom room. I don't have a password set right now. I'll probably have to set a password. I try and make it as painless as possible for the student who's at the airport. But we don't have the airport problem because of COVID-19, but for the student to access. For the 15 students that we had in international tax for fall and for spring, generally speaking, we had 12 of the 15, 14, or all 15 showing up each week. They didn't show up because they didn't want to show up. They were in an airport. They got on an airplane in the air, and they couldn't access on the airplane, by example, although I accessed on an airplane. But through your smartphone, just go on GSM service, you can use Zoom. I don't know if you've had the experience. Everybody's using Zoom at work. David, you use Zoom. You use WebEx. You use Zoom. Denise, do y'all use Zoom or you use WebEx or at Deloitte?
We use Zoom.
Hayden, what do y'all use at the law firm? Zoom or WebEx or?
I use Zoom at home, but in point of fact, WebEx banned the use of Zoom. So I can't use it at work at all. It's categorically banned.
Yeah, a lot of people use Microsoft Teams now also, which Microsoft is pushing. I have actually used the earlier version of Teams. I suspect they've improved it. What do y'all use at work, Deborah, at the software company?
Teams and WebEx.
Y'all use Teams, yeah.
Yeah, we are changing everything to Teams.
Yeah, is a network solution, enterprise solution. Well, we're going to continue to use Zoom, so that's what the university's bought into. I know I'm sure you've read about Zoom bombing or heard about it. Well, it seems that the anarchists have not been so interested in our tax classes yet. So if they become interested in them, one, I would love it for them to sit through, but okay, regardless, I'll have to set up passwords, and I'll make the passwords easy enough for everyone to remember, including myself. But the password issue is that a lot of people do come in on their phone, and the phone's very effective. I've Zoomed on the phone. I did the greatest stress test ever. I started the class as the airplane landed. I did a 2-hour presentation, involved, engaged class while I ordered an Uber, got in the Uber, shot across wherever I was. I think it was Boston or something, got in a hotel. The Zoom worked. Another teacher did it, and a student both did it in Shanghai airport to wherever they were going. So Zoom's very robust. It does work, but if you have
my understanding with Zoom too, with the security issues, are really if you're using the free version, because I mean Deloitte, they of course have bought a very robust thing, and it's gone through all the security checks, and you know there isn't really any concern of people being able to get into it. So.
Well, yeah, we upgraded to the highest security also, but because I use a generic link, I mean, in theory, people shouldn't be sharing it, but if it happened, then I would have to set up a password. But actually, the way the classroom works is you're supposed to have a accredited TAMU Zoom account to be able to even come into it. So that right there checks people. It would stop the Zoom bombing. But actually, we have innovation. Xiao, you know better about this. So is it something we even need to be concerned with anymore?
I think we should be fine, but I do hear from College Station that we encourage faculty to using the password when we're sending out the Zoom link because of the privacy and security issues for the students.
Well, I'm not going to use a password up front, but if I'm forced to, we'll use one.
Yeah, we can wait.
Okay. So Yeah, David Dye has to jump off. So, I put a face to a name for those who are going to need. Usually you don't have to deal with David, but if you do, for those listening to the video also later on, I can't think of a situation you would, but usually dealing with Megan for your agreements with the library to get your library in check. Certainly with how to set up your courses.
That's what I was going to say. I don't really actually, there's something, I've never dealt with getting you guys library access. I mean, I can figure it out. Like I said, like I'm new to this, just like all of you guys are. But I was going to tell you, William, that I'm a meeting at 10. So I know that usually you guys have a lot of questions for me. And I hope it's okay if I ask that.
Okay, are there questions for Megan that y'all can ask now about onboarding particularly?
Megan, I received all the documents. I'll get them executed and sent to you.
Okay. You know, I think, like I said earlier, I think you were on, you are a new hire. So if you are a new hire, I think Denise was one of them that I need you guys to apply through something called Interfolio. I haven't sent it to you, David, or you, Hayden, because I don't have, I only had 2 new hires, and because Denise starts May 18th, and so does the other person I sent it to, that was kind of like, that was imperative that I did it to them first. David, can you tell me when you start?
I teach on June 1st.
Okay, so I'm trying, so it probably will end up you doing it after the 18th, but as soon as I send it, because I know it's just, this whole mess has really messed up everything. Normally I get it out to you as soon as I can, but because I guess funding is kind of, it's not like we have all the money in the world right now to, you know, throw around. So not that you guys are fine. I just need to get a code for you guys to apply through Interfolio. So that's the only, so I'm going to send you guys your paperwork, like with you, David, and with you, Hayden. I'm going to send you all this paperwork. You're going to fill it out. And then I'm going to give you something to apply through, even though you already have the job. I just need you to apply through it for main campus. So
let me ask, does it matter that I've had a UIN before?
are you talking about before? I mean, it's.
Hayden does have a UIN. Hayden actually built
Oh, you do? Let me.
Risk Management.
Hayden, let me try, and you don't know what it is.
Well, I can find it, but I can't do it right now. I'm sure I can find it in about 10 minutes flat. I'll email it to you.
Okay. Oh, no, that's fine. It's important that you have your UIN. And so that's why I was saying, like, if you don't think you have one, then let me know, and I can try and figure, I can either get one for you, or you can say,
he has one. He built a course. He built a course.
Okay, then you're okay. Yeah, then I think everybody on here has a UIN. Like, that's the most important thing that you need. You don't, David?
I've logged in, so maybe I do. I have some type of ID.
Okay. I have a hard time.
You have a UIN.
Okay.
If you do have difficulties with it, sometimes they give me a hard time about giving me your UIN, because like William said, it's like your social security number. So sometimes identity management, especially like if it's a younger like student that's doing it, I try telling them like, oh, I work for the law school, I deal with dean of faculties, and then they still don't want to give it to me. But that's super important that you have it. So I can try and find it for you if you can't find it, but I think it's easier if you go and find it yourself. I know that sounds, I'm basically telling you to go do it yourself, but it's just going to be easier on you and myself if that's easy, if you guys can do that.
Megan, I've completed everything, but I'm not sure that I got that UIN yet. Who would it be coming from?
I'm trying to figure out who exactly it would be coming from. Let me go ahead and ask around a little bit. I actually, David, do you know how are you able to log in?
I don't recall. I'm looking it up now.
Okay, Denise, let me figure it out, because I actually, like I said, like I'm new to this, like you guys are. So let me figure out how exactly you get your UIN.
Yeah, because she was asking me from the library, and I said I didn't know. She was going to go to look to see if she had it, but I've gone in and done everything. Even the transcripts, I've been told, should be to you within.
That was me, yeah, because I said that normally Dean. So we're basically like just a building that was taken from College Station and thrown in the middle of Fort Worth. Like, we still have to deal with everything from College Station, everything from main campus. So I have to always contact main campus for everything. So I'm going to try and figure out, like, I don't know exactly how you get your UIN, but I'm going to try and figure it out. Sometimes I have to fill out a form that makes sure you get it, that never mind. So our HR liaison, though, his name is Lee Ford. This is always, if you want to write this name down somewhere, anything that you have questions about your pay, things like your UIN, I think that's anything with Workday, like if you want to get your check direct deposited or if you want it mailed to you, this is somebody that you need to talk to because I have no idea about that stuff. His name is Lee Ford, and he's our HR liaison, and his email is lwford@law.tamu.edu. So I know that I have a lot of adjuncts to ask me those questions, and then I have to always direct it to Lee. So then if it's easier for you guys to cut off the middleman and just ask him your questions directly, then that's fine. But if you feel like I'm your easiest point of contact, that's fine too, and it doesn't bother me.
So they have direct access to Workplace, is that correct?
You should. This is something, okay. So anytime I saw Workday, it's called Workday. And anytime you see it, you might think it's spam because a lot of adjuncts do, but that's super important that you guys fill that out because it has, that's where you can put in your direct deposit information. And so that way it's not mailed to you. Like Hayden, we had some adjuncts overseas and he forgot to fill out Workday. So then we were having to mail it to him and I think it took longer. So it's just important that you guys do it through Workday.
I hope you got W8 out of them.
Do what?
W8.
What is that? I'm sorry.
It's form. Don't worry.
Okay, I was like,
You
I'm
better
sorry.
get it into them, Hayden, though.
Mention to them the security stuff they have to do. Because I always have adjuncts coming back to talk about the compliance checks. What's the, I know you're not responsible for it, but it's part of the onboarding.
So are you talking about like how some people haven't got their checks yet? What was your question? I'm sorry, just tell me your question.
Everybody, every person employed by the state of Texas, and you're an employee, whether you like it or not, once you get $1 from the state of Texas, but also from the university, has to do a variety of online trainings. You do this at work anyway. All workplaces have don't discriminate trainings and, you know, whatever. We have our own trainings like don't take bribes, don't bribe people, be a good Aggie. There's probably 5 or 6 cyber type trainings or anti-money laundering trainings or don't beat people up trainings that you need to go through to get your paycheck. And I don't think that's often communicated to people, but it is important. And
It definitely is not communicated as well as it should be. So you guys, like you said, like you guys also have on that work day, there's also some training that you guys have to do. So just keep up with that work day. You'll get an email, and like I said, it's not spam. Please don't delete it because it's not going to say it's from A&M. It's just going to say Workday. So just keep that in mind when you guys.
We use Workday at Deloitte as well, so now I just got to sift through all the Workday things.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I mean, I'm about to have to hop off. So you guys have any more questions? I mean, you can email me. Hopefully I'll be back in the office soon. So, I mean, you guys can call me or anything you guys need help with. I'm here. I mean, I've been dealing with Paula for a little bit. We've been working. So I'm usually always a point of contact for adjuncts. So I'm your advocate. I'm your friendly face if you guys need anything. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very kindly for coming, Megan. I guess when we all open back up, where are you? Are you here? You're down in College Station.
No, I'm here. I'm in Fort Worth. So.
Well, when the office reopens, we'll see you there. When is that?
I know. Okay. Well, you guys have a great day. Thank you.
Is it when? When is it?
Bye.
Okay. Shao, let's ask, does anyone have questions from Shao about setting up your courses, about interacting or engaging with her that we can get out of the way?
Yeah, I probably just need to book some time with you to get through course design.
Sure,
So
of course.
I haven't built a course before, so I'm new to this.
Okay. Oh, I just want to
Same
give
thing
you.
for me.
Sure, of course. Your course shell already up in the eCampus, and starting from last week, already import templates in the course shell, and I know it's like 7-week course plus finals or what? Within?
6-week course, 6-week course.
Oh, 6 weeks, of course. Okay. But I see it from the Google Drive, there are like
It's
7.
7, yeah, okay. It's a capstone week, but
Oh, okay. No worries. I will fix it up. So I already have a different week set up for each instructor, and I already pulling, the reading list from the Google Drive. And then I check the case study folders, but it seems like empty there. So I'm waiting for you guys to give me more content so I can have the content there. And as William said, just let me know if you have any questions to make individual appointment with me, and I'm willing to talk with you face, through the Zoom.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Do you care whether it's in HD or 4K?
I don't have I should say from the department, there's no specific requirement to say you have to use 4K, but I would think, the better, the better, of course. But then talking about the size of the file, right? Mm-hmm. The size of the video itself will become larger. So if, I think it should be fine.
So your point about the larger file was I think
the recording.
Yeah. So if my videos are in 4K, that's why I'm asking. And so I think my only consideration is that I need to allow considerably more time for them to be uploaded. I think
that's true.
Okay. And in terms of, again, file size, I tend to convert into H265, mm-hmm. Which I'm guessing your standard is 264. Does it matter as long as you can play them, or do you have a standard for that or not?
I'm not quite sure about this part. I can double check for you with our medium team. So okay. They will take care of this part for you.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other question that I can help with?
So I see the eCampus that you have the risk management. You probably have FATCA, but I'm not added to that one yet, which is, I got to tell the registrar, because if I tell the registrar, then it will auto add me, correct, to the course.
You don't need to. I can take care of from that. So if you mean I'm missing one course from your side?
FATCA CRS, FATCA, FATCA CRS course.
Yeah, I think I do have access to that for the summer, right? Give me a second.
So I see the risk management for international tax you've created, but definitely not the FATCA course yet.
Oh, 20 summer law 689-704, FATCA, CRS, and AEoI, right?
Correct.
That's the one I have building content there.
Yeah. I built the content on G Drive, but anyway, I don't have access to it yet. But I think I have to go to the registrar.
Okay. I will send you a short email after the meeting.
International tax risk. I see you waving. David, do you have something?
Oh, just gotta go. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Kylie.
Bye. Go Gators.
Okay.
William,
the only other thing I wanted y'all to know about from, you can use Audacity if you prefer to do podcasting. I've done a lot of podcasting. The other professors haven't really liked it, but hey, you probably did dictation in the day, right? So I used to dictate all the time until dictation went out of style. And so I like the podcasting because I can take Audacity as a free, it's freeware.
Yep.
And I keep Audacity, you can download it to your phone, but you don't even have to use it. You just use the record function on your phone. And so as I tell people, if you ever want to write a lot of material like me, 2-3 articles a week, I don't have to write them. When I'm bored in the car, wherever I'm doing, I'm walking around, people think I'm schizophrenic. No, I'm talking to the phone and writing the articles as I walk around, but that becomes course material. And obviously I have to clean it up. Sometimes I don't though. I just put it out as it is. That's one way. So Audacity is a freeware program. But regardless, you're going to have an Excel spreadsheet. So I'll just do a quick share screen one more time, and you'll see my Excel spreadsheet of the class. And so your class will have, all classes will have a roster, is what it is. You'll have a roster. This roster I set up. This is for transfer pricing, or I did it for international tax, with 4 groups with 4 members each, because I had 12 people. I could have done, you know, whatever. You can make 6 groups of 2. You can make, you don't have to use groups. I'm not, you know, everyone has to decide what works best for you to achieve the outcomes that you think the students really need to make this worth it for them. However, I use the groups, and you have their email addresses, easy to copy. Now, eCampus, you can send emails through what's called Blackboard right now, and you're going to have the same information, and you can create groups in eCampus. However, and I've done that. I used the groups in eCampus last summer. Paula, and for her class, Legal Risk Management, I created groups on eCampus. I'm going to tell you that the students prefer the Excel spreadsheet because having talked with them enough, they want it in one place where they see who's in whose groups. They don't want to click around 20 times in eCampus trying to figure stuff out. They want this one sheet with their email addresses right there. And then I have some other sheets like this that you'll have rosters also. But the point is it tells you what the student does, tax advisor, law, what company they work for, Brandy, IRS, or Ford Motor Company, or Michelin Tire, Toyota, whatever. So it gives you enough information that you know what industry they're from. Are they a tax person, transfer pricing person? Are they a risk person and not tax at all? And so forth. So that you can also, you, the weekly faculty member, you're creating your group, and you can decide how to diversify a group, or to, you know, I think everyone in industry, a car industry, should be together, or I think that car industry should be diversified, that they should only have one member of a car automotive in a group. So anyway, it's up to you, but you'll have enough information to make that decision. You will also have access to what I call the social bio. In each course, I will have emailed the students and told them to post information about themselves. So you'll know what they do by their job and all that, but it's not a curriculum vitae, it's not their resume. It'll be a narrative about, do they like to hunt? Are they an Olympic swimmer? Do they smoke cigars? Whatever they do in their life. So it'll be a narrative of a paragraph or two describing themselves. I always post the first one, so I have one for 20 plus years running now. You as a faculty member will post your narrative, and then the students will post the narrative. So you'll have some information, call it coffee talk, about them before you're seeing them in class. And if you watch some class videos, by example, of other classes, I'll stop sharing my screen, you'll what you'll find is a lot of camaraderie and small talk amongst the students and the faculty and the students. And the reason is because of the social bias. We have enough information to start making jokes about each other and so on. But so again, I think I put this in an email. Make it fun. It's your course, so have fun with it. Okay. So that's about the groups. Now, are there any questions about how to create groups, since from Hayden, Paula, or Deborah? I mean, Deborah, you were doing groups.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm going to be the last week for both courses. So how do I make the groups? Do I follow the groups that were?
I'm going to give you an Excel. So week 7, I'm going to still use G Drive, and I'm going to let Xiao do the importation over to eCampus because she doesn't know the answer. So we're going to move to Canvas, the new Canvas learning management system. not just us, the whole state of Texas, all the public schools are doing this. Most colleges are moving to Canvas across the United States. And consequentially, I know that everything built on eCampus, Blackboard, is going to have to rebuild on Canvas. So for me, I think it's safer, don't upload anything directly to Blackboard, upload it to G Drive. It'll be preserved there for next year when you need to play with it and redo stuff and then move it to, or she's going to move it to Canvas for you. The advantage of Canvas, a good advantage of Canvas, not for you, but it allows her to put a lot more cool bell and whistles in there. Even if you know coding, but you don't really know it, you don't have a degree in it. Like, I know it enough. I've taught myself over 20 something years because I was a pioneer guy. If you don't know it really well, you can't make bells and whistles in eCampus, in Blackboard. You can't make it in Blackboard. It's not possible. You've suffered this for sure, Deborah, when you try to upload content from Word into a Blackboard box for like a discussion forum or the materials, and everything goes ARI and you can't, the HTML coding doesn't work, and it's just crazy. That's a Blackboard problem, that because Blackboard came out of a very early type of software program, and they've never fixed it. Shame on them for having billions of dollars to never fix that. Canvas, because it came later, has addressed that. Now, you know, it's not for any of us to learn HTML unless you know, but regardless, for Xiao, who does know that kind of stuff, she can actually like embed quizzes into your content if you wanted. She can have a video and the video stops and a quiz pops up. She can have dancing bears come across your screen with words coming out of their mouth. You can do all that in Canvas, where to do that in Blackboard is super, super content heavy, laborious from a coding point of view. And you can build that in another program, and just dump it into Canvas and it'll work. So that's the advantage of Canvas. It's also much better for teachers. You're going to have a much better look and feel for Canvas as a professor. Blackboard has much more functionality, but 90% of faculty don't use 90% of that functionality. And so it's like you go and buy a super gaming computer, but you don't play computer games. So you just waste the resource. And so it's the same thing. But okay, so build it in G Drive, and she'll move it over next year to that. We are going to use the Blackboard this semester to go into, so it's important you have your UI in. But I said that last semester too, and we all ended up on G Drive. So we'll see. I know why. It's because when I try and upload videos to Blackboard, it won't let me do it anymore. I've met my storage capacity. Because all these courses link to me, and then so my storage capacity is well blown past it, so I'm not allowed to upload videos anymore, which is why Xiao has to do it. Okay. So y'all have questions about the classes in general that I can answer, because it'll help the other people who are going to watch this later. Like Knut Olsen. Y'all don't know Knut Olsen. Knut was a student in this program literally 20-something years ago. And he, at that time, he was head of oil and gas for the country of Norway's revenue department. He's retired. He likes to teach. He did his PhD afterwards for Lark, and he's written a really good book on international tax risk management from an ISO perspective, ISO 9002. And as I say, Knut's retired, so he just does this as keep himself active. But he'll have questions. But he's taught in this program before, but well, you did too, Deborah, in the former versions.
Yes.
So,
I'm used to Blackboard in the former versions.
Yeah, the former versions. But you have any questions about your particular? Well, you're doing the technology, so so what will happen for your course it'll be the exact identical folder in both courses. And what I want to do is have a capstone every semester where students who aren't in the same courses are forced to meet each other. It's a networking thing, if nothing else. And so it allows students who may only do FATCA to meet students who do, you know, I don't know, international tax risk management for interest rates, for interest payments. It allows them to meet each other maybe for the first time if they haven't before, and network and build their own professional network, and which is a positive about this program, or will be going forward.
So I'm not going to be locked into the groups that were previously chosen by the professors. I can mix all the students together and divide the groups the way I want. Okay. It would be interesting, the professor that takes the first week, to make it clear to the students that the groups will get changed throughout the course, because I felt that last course, because they didn't change, the students felt comfortable and they didn't want to change anymore. By the time I came in, they wanted the groups to be the same. And I think that mixing it up gives them the opportunity to develop different, to see different strengths in other people. I think they were, you know.
I agree with you. It's meant to be that way. They became very comfortable the first semester too, and didn't want to change. And so I said, okay, I'm not gonna fight you, whatever, we'll leave it. But I said the advantage of being in, like, keeping the group for only 2 weeks and then being forced to be in another group is that, one, you meet more people and you build a bigger network with the other students, but two, the more interactions you have of different perspectives, different cultures, different whatever, the greater your learning for the workplace. And they're in the program because there's some need they have on their side, because even if they have free money for education, I mean, it's a lot of work. They can do other stuff with their life. But the more group experiences they have, the better they're going to be. But they get comfortable for sure. Something I have to figure out, because people don't always participate in the groups, and so I'm going to come back on this, is I'm going to have a rubric where people assess each other without making it so that they can get angry at each other. But I'm going to come up with some innocuous rubric that allows people to be called out without being called out. And
one thing you could add there is, I don't know why they had just one person presenting their work every time. I think the whole group should present, maybe divide the slides or divide the presentation with all the students, because then everybody has to work on the, you know, communication skills. Because I have to say, I felt that there was one student making slides, one student in charge of presenting, one student in charge of research. I think everybody has to work together. And if you have everybody presenting, even if they all work on just their piece, their slides, they will work on research, communication skills, and you know, they will get everything instead of one person getting that exposure. So I think that could be something to do different.
yeah, okay, that's good. I agree. We should institute that. I was going to put the one at a time because I was afraid of the students not all showing up. Now that I know the students actually have a tendency to all show up, you know, further encourage them to if they actually have to present. And if they don't, then they have to find somebody in their group to do their presentation for them. So it puts peer pressure. But for students who can't show up, I don't have a problem with it because they have client work or whatever, but they have to work within their group to do it. And obviously, because we're trying this in a synchronous format, they can't not show up every week, because then it makes no sense for them or for their group. But I'll come up with a rubric, as I said, something that makes people get called out, but not in a bad way. I don't know. But okay, so maybe I'll have happy faces and sad faces kind of rubric, and something like that. But okay, and I'm always open to suggestions because I hate to have to create it from scratch. But other questions, Hayden? You have any questions for your course?
Yeah, I do have a question, and it's in this context. It's very likely my case study will take people down some rabbit holes to do with FATCA and CRS and how you can get an entirely different result for, say, FATCA versus CRS for the same fact pattern. And you can get entirely a different result for FATCA, depending on whether you're looking at it from a financial institution that's US based or based in an IGA country. That's just something I like to do because it makes it much more interesting. And I want to show people how you can get answers that are given. This answer is correct, that answer is correct, but the two things being able to coexist at the same time is counterintuitive. That for me is the sort of thing I find makes teaching much more interesting, and I think learning much more interesting. But my question is to do with this specifically, DAC 6. You haven't mentioned it, but it's likely to be incredibly interesting to students in my course because, like, for example, the US is not a participating CRS. It's not, they don't participate with the CRS. And that I'm going to show people has massive effects for CRS. And in point of view for DAC 6, they're a third-party country. Now, can I allude to DAC 6? Will it already have been alluded to?
Oh, no, you can put it in. It won't have been. No, it won't have been. So, well, maybe alluded to, but you can bring it in. Your weekly syllabus is yours. All I did was put some general what I know needs to be covered, and then but what you're going to cover during your week is up to you. So so we are, you know, it's a risk program. Go ahead, Deborah.
The timing of DAC 6, it would be great if you could bring something into for them, because
yeah, that's my full intention.
The deadlines, yeah.
Do that. Okay, and so my concern, because I've seen this, is that you guys in the US, you see these regs very well. Actually, this is how you and I met, William. You know, we see things, we see your regs very differently on this side of the pond. And so I just wanted to check in terms of tonality, because my answers, well, put it this way, if you gave a fact pattern to me and you gave a fact pattern to Denise, because I know Denise knows me, we would come up with a very different conclusion, but they're both valid. And so is Texas A&M comfortable with taking on board the non-US perspective as well as the US perspective?
Yeah, more than half. I think half the students are not US people.
Okay,
So,
and it's really relevant in my module because of it's to do with data and how you've got to map it. And if you only are thinking about one audience, you've completely made yourself unable to conform with another regime and the consequences of that.
yeah, so 8 or 15. So more than half were not US students for this spring.
Cool, got it. So that, no, I've got no further
15.
questions. Thank you.
Now these classes will be small for the summer because COVID, people just aren't able to basically apply. We have lots of people who send us, you know, register me. Unfortunately, we're a real university, and so unlike my previous institutions where I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's register you, and you're sending a check. Texas A&M, real university, and they really onboard the students. They have to go through a formal application process, transcripts, the whole thing, because they're going to get a UIN. They're going to get so basically they're going to get their security check as a student. And so you can't just register somebody. So that's very irritating to people who just want to, who are used to professional education and just will send you money and, you know, and sign me up and maybe I'll show up or not. But I'm right now for sure you'll have 6 people in the course because I know they're already enrolled, which is basically taking the current students and dividing them half are interested in FATCA, half in international tax.
And William, can we
Students are
attend?
busy, so they're not going to take both courses. It's going to be too much stress on them.
Okay. Can we attend each other's courses, William? The reason I ask is because I'm always fascinated by other people's perspectives. Like Denise, I mean, she and I have worked together in the past, but we almost always come to different answers. And like, I learned so much from that.
Well, y'all can sit in on each other's weeks. So we had this in transfer pricing. We ended up, like Lorraine Eden from main campus, she's retired, but she's emeritus. So she's working with me basically for the transfer pricing. She just wants to keep herself active. And so she ended up, at first she was like, I don't have time for any of this. That's why I retired, da, da, da.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, she's in half the classes. And because she likes it, she's involved. She's like, well, I have an opinion, da, da, da. And she's super smart, so I want her opinion. But, and then Deborah came to a lot of the classes. Anyway, so people were definitely going back and forth. And I encourage that because the more of a discussion it is, the more everybody likes it, which is why the classes were lasting so long. And it's just, they can't do that on Sundays anymore. So
very interesting to attend the class on the week prior to yours, like so you know the last thing the students were hearing. You could give a little bit of continuity. I recommend at least that one to attend.
And for you, Hayden, we're going to have Melissa Muhammad, who from the IRS LB&I, and
wow.
she's fascinating. I've always looked up to her because, man, she did it right. So she joined the IRS after law school. She's a lifer, right? So she never worked outside the government, but she convinced the IRS to send her to Japan, where she became an employee of the Japanese tax authority.
Wow.
And so she was on secondment, and they learned Japanese, and so she got to spend several years there, and she became one of them to train them on US and then learn the US and bring it back to the US. Then she came back to DC, did some stuff, and she was like, now I think I want to learn French. And she convinced them, the IRS, to send her to OECD. And so she learned French, and she was at the OECD for several years. And then she's like, I want to go back to the US. And she's in DC. And she's traveled all around. She's head of, she does treaty negotiations and
Very cool.
and dispute resolution using treaties. So, you know, on a year, she might have traveled to, 30, 40 countries a year. It's like, it's okay. If you like to travel, it's okay. She got a little tired of it now, maybe, but she's been doing it for 20 years. But FATCA, so she was doing FATCA implementation, and in 12 through 14, 15, and so she's gonna talk about Treasury's perspective and systems for a week or two.
I'd like to attend that.
You'll be interested in liking that. And she speaks like 5 languages. She's lived in many cultures, and again, so she's multicultural and brings these different perspectives to the table.
Brilliant.
Well, I think I covered everything. I see everything that I wanted to cover on my screen. I am going to open as I mentioned, a folder where I have the folder open. I'm going to send it out to all the new onboarding faculty and to the faculty who are already onboarded. And it's going to have my Texas A&M screens like those behind me. But feel free to use them or not use them. I'm going to have some links like Zoom account, and Deborah has to drop off. Okay, ciao, Deborah, and whatever other useful information I think. But otherwise, set up your time to work with Shao, and so you can get rolling on your recordings. Now for Paula, Paula, for you, for international tax risk management, you're coming in with a non-tax background, but with a with the risk background, of course. So your week is you don't have to know tax.
Good.
You have to be a risk officer. Well, you have to do what you do. So you have to bring that and say, you know what, tax, if I'm CRO, Chief Risk Officer of my corporation, I'm actually interested to know what your tax department's doing because you're part of my risk portfolio. And the same as the general counsel, or maybe it is the general counsel as Chief Risk Officer, but whatever. You know, I need to know where my risk lies, and one of those risks is tax. And this is how we approach it and how it has to be modeled for me. So in tax, there's different types of taxes, and each of those types of taxes has their own modeling, if you will. FATCA is data collection on individuals, more or less, and entities. Transfer pricing is the collection of financials in a certain way. Just general tax reporting is a collection of financials in another way, and so on. So that's all data management and collection and cleansing and reporting. Okay, well, that starts to sound like what you do in risk with data. And so you'll see the whole class because you'll be able to, you have access to it. We can give you access to FATCA too. The problem is I don't have a book called International Tax Risk Management. If I did, I would have all the materials uploaded for that course. I have a book called FATCA. So I'm still thinking about what the materials are going to be for international tax risk management. The easy materials are the OECD materials called the BEPS project, public materials, and so I don't know yet. But you'll be able to see what's going on, and then you can shape what your week will look like based on that. And you can, of course, reach out to the faculty in that course and say, you know, I'm a risk person. Can I have can you give me 30-minute phone call or Zoom call and let me pick your brain on what you do so that I can develop where we come at this. And, but what tax people don't know, so tax people aren't risk people in general. They're not, even though like lawyers should learn risk at law school, we don't. Business people kind of learn risk, but usually learn to just, avoid it, which is a good way, but you can't always avoid it. They don't learn it. And tax people never learn risk. They just learn number crunching. So, but everyone talks about tax risk. So what the hell are they talking about? That's the true problem here. And so they don't know what risk is. So you're defining what risk is, but you're explaining and illustrating through some case study risk, so that a person who's done tax all their life, tax accounting, tax financials, whatever, boring tax nerd, maybe for the first time, even though they've used this word tax risk for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe for the first time, they've actually gotten an actual definition of what risk is, and how, evidence-based risk, statistics, Gaussian versus fractals, whatever. It's up to you, but to blow their mind with, this is what risk actually is. And you're the tax people, you tell me how this fits in, because you all are the ones who use the word tax risk as if it's been around forever, and yet that terminology has really only been used for the last less than 10 years. But going forward, everyone uses it. It's every sentence of every major corporate meeting about the word tax. Oh, what's our tax risk exposure? What's our tax? And they're using the word risk as if they know what the meaning is. And so it's your job really to define what risk is for us. So if I just said it's simply the tax risk is the chance or opportunity or whatever of the tax authority telling you, no, you can't do that. Well, that's not really risk. It's guaranteed. It's a guarantee that the tax authority doesn't want to, the tax authority's job is not to help the taxpayer to avoid tax. So that's an opposing thing. So that's not risk. That's about stakeholder positions. And but anyway, okay. So unfortunately, I can't give you much more guidance than that. Now, I mean, there are books about tax risk, and the best one out there, and I'll get the library to buy it. The electronic version is actually Knut Olson's. And the reason it's good is because it's not about, it's literally about, he was Norway tax authority. And so he approached risk from a systematic across all corporations with a very limited amount of resources. And in a system that wasn't adversarial. It's Norway. They're just not adversarial up in the Scandinavian countries, but in a system where in theory they're in kumbaya working together, but yet there's going to be some, whatever. And so he developed a model based on ISO, which is now the 9002, where anyway, that's his thing. And so he has a book, and it became quite, tax authorities around the world have been like, that's really interesting. And so he goes around and does trainings for tax authorities. But I'll get he did his book like 10 years. It was his PhD project, actually. So I'll get the library to buy it electronically, and you'll have access. So you can at least see what he was doing.
Okay, that would be helpful. I've got some ideas on this. What I'll probably do is kind of formulate what I see as the learning objectives and get back with you in a week or so. My class is until, I think, 3rd week of June. You're muted.
Sorry, yes. I was going to say Hayden's not really a tax person. He's a risk data, accountant, right? Systems accountant. Like he understands systems. And you're a systems person, actually. Y'all actually have a lot of commonality. So your degree, your systems degree, his systems degree, but he's an accountant versus a law. But he obviously he does a lot of computer, and you do computer. So so he approaches this from a very different perspective than the lawyer who gets bogged down in reading the regs and trying to figure out what they mean, and then you write rules based on the regs. They don't know what that means because they don't know what software is, but for lawyers. But anyway, Hayden does, and then so he has to translate all that law into software rules, and because at Bank of America, he had 100+ million accounts to deal with, and it's not practical to throw people at it. There's not enough people to throw, so he had the software do the work for him, and so you would understand that world, and that world has risks. Anyway, so interesting conversation from that perspective. Okay, so I don't have anything else. I won't want to keep you. It's just if you have any questions for me, I'm here, and otherwise you'll get an email link to my G Drive folder with some fancy Aggie backgrounds, but you already have them. So, maybe not the one behind me. This is a new one that the law school distributed at the last faculty meeting.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, the moot courtroom.
Because that's a stereotype. Every lawyer's in the courtroom, right? No, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again for all
Okay.
your.
Well, thank you very kindly.